religious freedom legislation. All we are doing is providing you the same protection from your state and local government that you already have from the federal government. It is just merging the standard. It's making it uniform. And yet we have people saying, well, you know, that's going to be offensive to the gay community, and it's going to hurt us with people in the middle. No, it's not. I mean, if you explain to people that what we are doing is championing their religious freedom, regardless of their particular faith, and that we're trying to keep the government out of their lives, that is a winning political issue. If what we're getting down to is how does it work out in the raw political world. On the religious freedom bill, in the state Senate, came out of my committee. Now, after it came out of my committee, that doesn't mean it's going to the floor. It's got to go to the Rules Committee that's chaired by Senator Mullis. The leadership team, including the Lieutenant Governor, they all have to kind of weigh in on that process. The bill came out of my committee one day, it was in the Rules Committee the next day, and it was on the floor that Friday. That's the leadership team responding to members who are saying, this is a conservative priority. This is important to us. This is important to the base of the Republican Party, and we need to respond to that. So I think that worked. I think that process worked in the Senate. It is obvious in the House that there were serious objections at some level among leadership. It was obvious because of the way the committee was formulated. The committee was basically evenly split. There was a subcommittee that was evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. I think maybe one more Republican than Democrat. When we managed to jump over that hurdle and got into the full committee, there was an amendment offered with no notice to me. And I don't say that because I'm in any way special, other than I was the author of the bill. And typically, if somebody's going to offer an amendment in the committee, they're going to take it to the author and say, are you okay with this? But they sprung it on us because they were hoping we weren't going to be prepared for it. They didn't expect us to be ready to table it because the political strategy here was very shrewd. It was make the bill, put a poison pill amendment in the bill, get it to the floor of the House and pass it, and then make me or the Senate the bad guys when we stop it and say we're not passing a bill like, and just passing a bill for the sake of passing a bill that doesn't do anything. So there is unquestionably in my mind a need for leadership of the Republican Party, and I think that applies to a whole lot of different folks, to be more responsive to the people that vote for Republicans and put us in office. So how do we do that? I think the way we do that is, and this is what I've told people about the religious freedom legislation, you can call the Speaker's office if you want to, but if you're not in his House district, people have told me they've been hung up on. But if you really want to impact that process, you call your House member and you say to him, look, because most of the House members that I've talked to, they're all for us. They're 100% for this legislation. And you say, I appreciate that. That's not what I'm asking you today. What I'm asking you today is I'm asking you to either pick up the phone or go schedule a meeting with the Speaker and let him know that you've heard from your constituents and that this is a priority for you. You want an opportunity to vote on the bill that passed the Senate. And it's that simple. And the truth is, if he hears from enough of the people that elect him, then he will be responsive to that. So that's my thoughts on it.
Where is the bill right now, John?
So mechanically where we are, we passed it out of the Senate, it was referred to the House Judiciary Committee, and it was tabled in the House Judiciary Committee. So at any time, once we come back in January, Chairman Willard can call the bill back up. The bill, we can adopt a substitute that takes out the poison pill language and gets it back to the way it was in the Senate, pass it out of committee, send it to the floor of the House, and pass in the House, and then it goes to the governor.
So it's still a lot.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Jerry?
Yes, Senator. One of the things that kept coming out, this is actually the first I've heard that the poison pill was to allow the city and counties, whatever, to opt out. What came out in the news in various places was that there was, the poison pill was an anti-discrimination amendment. Can you speak to that, please?
Thank you for asking that question. So, one of the things about this legislation that's been kicked around is this was somehow a way to stop same-sex marriage or react to same-sex marriage. This legislation at the federal level was passed in 1993. I think it was passed before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was passed. So I mean, this had nothing to do with the redefinition of marriage. What it had to do is a sensible restraint on government. Let's talk about how that plays out. The city of Atlanta has an ordinance that says you can't discriminate on the basis of race, national origin, ethnicity, age, sex, and sexual orientation. And so what the left has been trying to say is that a religious freedom law would trump that local ordinance. Well, I can tell anybody that wants to take the time to look at the case law, and probably the best example I can give you is Elane Photography, E-L-A-N-E, Photography. That's a case out of New Mexico. This was the case of the photographer who did not want to serve a same-sex couple in taking photographs of their wedding. In that case, New Mexico had both a Religious Freedom Restoration Act and a non-discrimination statute. And what the court said is the government has defined a compelling state interest, and that compelling state interest is not discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation. And so your religious freedom defense fails. So we didn't need an amendment to deal with the anti-discrimination question. The language of federal RFRA makes it very clear that if a state or local government says, we think this group should not be subject to discrimination, and then I say, I'm going to discriminate against you on the basis of my religious belief, the non-discrimination law is going to win.